everybody, welcome back to the Seed of the Week. This week was a super fun episode. If you listen to it, you know that this was my first interview with someone, not just me on with Josh. So that was really exciting. Mike Garcia is a super great guy and I was super excited to have him on. But something kind of interesting popped into my head when I was trying to think about what to do for the Seed of the Week. In the episode, Mike shares a lot of advice, good and bad. One of the really memorable stories from the episode for me was when he was at the landscaping conference and the guy was telling them all, oh, glyphosate is so safe, Roundup is so safe, see how safe? Squirt, squirt, squirt right in his mouth. Oh my gosh, like that's bad advice. And then I was thinking, I've gotten given some pretty bad advice also. So this week in the Seed of the Week, I'm going to share my 3 worst pieces of advice I've been given. Because, you know, we all get given bad advice and we all get given good advice. And sometimes we don't even know it's bad advice until later. Okay, so first piece of bad advice that I have gotten given is that your food will not affect your health. So way back when Josh and I were dating, I think, I started to get really sick. I got really bad migraines. I had really bad abdominal pain. I just had to and I was super anemic. I was super lightheaded really easy and for a couple weeks, and I had to keep going in and getting blood drawn. Finally, the doctor didn't know what to do. I was super anemic and they couldn't figure out why, so they sent me to a GI doctor. The eye doctor did the full scoping everything and he's like, oh, that really sucks. You have Crohn's disease and you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And there's nothing you can do, so here's a bunch of pills that you're going to have to take the rest of your life. Make sure to keep good health insurance because these are going to be really expensive. And you're going to gain a ton of weight because prednisone is a steroid and it likes to pack on the pounds. And so I asked him, is there anything that I can do about it? Or do I really just have to take these pills? And he said, no, the food that you eat is not going to affect your Crohn's disease. I was like, oh man, that sucks. And so I was only 20 years old, right? Super young, still in college. And I was like, I guess this is my life. I have Crohn's disease forever. Fantastic. And so, after over a year on the medication, maybe even 2, I had done a bunch of research and I started seeing that people actually did heal their Crohn's disease and other things like IBS, other gut things through diet. And so that's what I did. I did the simple carbohydrate diet and cut everything out and just let my gut heal, and slowly added things back in, and I've been fine ever since. And there's been a number of times when my inflammation markers have been checked and I've been totally fine. That's 10, 11 years later, and which has been super good, even though I'm totally blacklisted from donating plasma because I'm blacklisted for Crohn's, even though I haven't had symptoms or anything. Anyways, so the big takeaway here is food totally does affect your health. Oh my goodness, it affects your health, and not just your weight and your energy levels, but everything. I really love how Hippocrates pointed out way back centuries ago, let thy food be thy medicine, right? It totally is. It totally is. So much more than your pills and your pharmaceuticals. Now, there's totally a time and a place, but it's not for everything. Food can do a lot more than we give it credit to. Okay, so number 2 is you cannot play until you get all your work done. Now, I think that most of us had our parents telling us this, and it was totally in goodwill. A lot of us parents can often say this to our kids as well. But here's the reason why it's some of the worst advice. Because as adults, we carry that with us, right? Things that we learned as a kid. Okay, so here I am as an entrepreneur. I'm not going to play until the work's done. But when is the work done? Never. The work is never done, right? As an adult. The work is never done, which means we do not allow ourselves to play. But if we do not allow ourselves to play, we aren't going to work as efficiently because we don't have a place to release and expand and let go and play. Play is so therapeutic. If we really just don't take care of ourselves until the work gets done, we're going to burn out and we're going to mess ourselves up. So that is actually a really bad piece of advice. So if you're telling your kids that, you may want to consider changing your tune. Even though, I mean, it's important to do some amount of work. You know, we don't want them to keep taking breaks and stuff, but don't put it in the context if you need to finish all your work before you can play. Because, especially as adults, we're terrible at playing a lot of times. We're terrible at playing because we just feel like we need to work, and then we feel guilty if we play too much, and it becomes this whole thing when it doesn't need to become this whole thing. Okay, so that is the second piece of advice. Okay, the third worst piece of advice that I was given is that you shouldn't have any more kids because it's bad for the environment. Right? Like we hear all the time about, oh, there's so many people in the world, right? Like you shouldn't have that many kids. And a lot of times people, for Josh and I, we have run into people like totally criticizing us for having 4 kids. Like the negative environmental impact of those children, right? Like, sure, yeah, you think about diapers, you think about, you know, food that they need and all this stuff. Okay, like, yes, there's that. But it comes down to like, almost like the difference between sustainability and regeneration. Like, we need to not just be holding the line, we need to not be not having kids. So if we all stop having kids, when we die, we're just going to leave the world a dung heap and no one's going to be able to help fix it, or we'll only be able to do a little bit of it. Instead, if we are having children, but raising them in a way that they are, you know, the positive forces that we need in the world, the healers, the other permies, the other people in the regenerative sphere working to heal the world. That's what we need. Our generations don't have a future if we're not doing that. So I think, yeah, we do need to have kids. I'm not saying, oh yeah, everyone needs to have 10 kids. And like, if you're not having kids, like that's fine. No judgment against you, but don't judge me for having kids because I'm trying to raise kids who are, you know, gonna go on and take on the world and try to help make it a better place for their generation and for future generations. And I mean, we've gotten some flack because we have so many kids. And we know we have, you know, we're in Utah. There's a lot of families with a lot of kids, and we are not anywhere near having the most kids that are around here, right? But when we go to California or even up in Montana, people are like, oh man, 4 kids, that's so much. But we're doing it really, really specifically. We've done it really prayerfully. And so we hope that if you have a bunch of kids, to look at it that way and don't feel bad about environmental impact, turn that focus and that awareness to, you know, creating the world changers. Because I think that's really important. You know, they talk about, you know, we're going to have 60 years left of topsoil. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I may not be here in 60 years. And my kids will be. And if I only have 1 or 2, if we're not creating these change makers or enough of these change makers, it's just everything's going to go to crap for them, right? Like we need people to keep it going forward. And I know they've talked all over in the science about how it's not really the number of people that's the issue, it's how we're using our resources. You know, we need the brains, we need the innovation, we need the awareness of living a regenerative life, living a regenerative livelihood, and it doesn't end with us. It goes on to our kids. Anyways, so that was my 3 big pieces of advice, 3 big pieces of worst advice that I've received. I know there's more. Josh and I were talking, there's lots of bad advice that we've received. I would love to know what bad piece of advice you have received, because I think it's kind of funny to share the bad advice that we've received. Because we can all be like, yeah, mm-hmm. So comment below and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep these rolling out. And I hope you have a fantastic morning, day, night. Keep growing permies. Make sure to check out the blog post if you haven't already with the podcast episode with Mike Garcia, doing fantastic work in Southern California. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.